Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jerry with Da Bears Talk, and today we're going to be talking about DASHAUN Mallory, another signing fairly recently with the six recent signings that we had to the 90-man roster. DASHAUN Mallory out of Arizona State, spent some time at Michigan State. Actually, a very interesting story, and following a common trend with Ryan Poles of being this hometown hero. You can see right there out of Bolingbrook, Illinois. So we're going to talk about him today. Don't forget to like the video. Please like the video. These everything you need to know videos have been doing great, and I greatly appreciate it. And I'm trying to get you guys all the information about all of these Bears players that could be on the 53-man roster. So like the video, comment down below if you think DASHAUN Mallory deserves a spot. We have a bit of a crowded defensive tackle room of young talent. So not necessarily going to be a guarantee, but I like his size, and I'm going to talk about why it could be a good reason that he makes a spot. And then subscribe for more. Like I said in the last video, plenty of everything you need to know videos about all the prospects that could potentially make the roster. And I've also got some trivia coming out soon. So a lot more to come. Thank you for your support. But let's get right into it. So DASHAUN Mallory, 6'2". I've seen 6'1". I've seen 6'3". He's on average will go 6'2". 285 is what he's at right now. You can see on the screen he had a weight problem. We'll talk about that in a little bit. 40 time was at a pro day, 512. I also saw 508. So it's kind of all over the place. 492 shuttle. I saw lower times. I believe that was actually from high school. I'll get to that in a minute, but he's out of Bolingbrook, Illinois. He was projected to be a UDFA, and that's really where he was going to end up being. That was just with how he was and with his production. You see from 2020 to 2023, all the numbers that are there are his total numbers, but I wanted to include just 2023, so that's in the parentheses there. So you have 12 games, 48 tackles, 4 pass deflections, 2 sacks, and 10 tackles for a loss. So honestly, even for being at Arizona State, that's a solid final year and a great improvement over prior years. And then just fun facts. So he is another Chicago native. We know that that's a favorite move of Ryan Poles. And then he had a weight problem. I wanted to capitalize on that because out of high school, if you look at his tape through Huddle and all of his kind of background out of high school, he was 6'1", 265. And he was a very light, nimble. If you look up, you can actually find some data on his 40 times and his shuttle were actually faster than most recently. At that particular time. I don't know how true that is. Like, they don't have video footage of it, but the claims are that it was faster. And then basically during his sophomore year at Michigan State, he ended up getting closer to 350 pounds. And he was like, what the heck am I doing? This is not me. I need to fix this. And he ended up losing about 65 pounds, and it put him back down to 285, and that's kind of where he settled in. If you Google, look online, you can find pictures of him when he's just inflated like a balloon, and then he gets down, and he actually added muscle while he lost the 60 pounds. So he's kind of a beast, and he reminds me of one of my favorite prospects that I wanted the Bears to go after, Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon, to be kind of a tweener that would really feel like Justin Jones was not a huge element to our defense. But I like the build of being a tweener that 6'2", 6'3", you're 285, you're kind of it would be a heavier for your height defensive end, but it would be a lighter, for your defensive tackles. So you could definitely be 285 and be a 3 technique. You'd probably want to try to stay a little quicker and hover around 300, at 6'2", if you wanted to be a dominant 3 technique. But I just like the ability that he would have in being able to be faster. And that was a big thing that he said in a lot of his interviews. He said the reason that he lost the 60 pounds was because he wanted to be faster. He remembered himself in high school being faster, and he strives to be faster. So Another thing that a lot of his teammates said about him through Michigan State and through Arizona State is that he's a great leader, and he's very humble. He's always striving to be the best. So I really like those traits out of him. But the pros, he's very versatile because you've got a kind of big, strong guy that's 6'2", 6'3"-ish, 285. Again, kind of a tweener, which I have in the cons because I do think it's going to be tough to find a spot for him with Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens, Andrew Billings, and Keith Randolph coming in. I think Keith Randolph, who I did make a video on, check that out. I think Keith Randolph is a nice fill-in spot for Andrew Billings. Like if Andrew Billings needs a break, put in Keith Randolph, and you're going to get similar vibes. You're not going to get the greatest pass rush, but you'll get great run stopping. That's kind of how Andrew Billings is, and that's kind of how Keith Randolph is. I think DASHAUN Mallory, if you were to compare him to a former Bear, it would be Justin Jones, who we just lost. And I think it would be valuable to have him on the roster, and at the end of the day, that's what this is going to come down to, is can he make the 53-man roster. And I think if you look at who we have, if you're going to have somebody fill in for Justin Jones, it would probably have to be DASHAUN Mallory. But I also like the factor of, having Keith Randolph as a guy for a breather for Andrew Billings. And I think that DASHAUN Mallory could earn himself a roster spot just because of the lack of depth at defensive end. We have people like Dominique Robinson, who really hasn't shown his full potential, and it's probably going to be kind of a prove-it year for him. I think they can find a spot for DASHAUN Mallory, and honestly, I hope they do, because as I said, Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon was one of my favorites, and he was a very similar build at 6'2", 285. He was a little bit quicker, and a little bit more production as far as his most recent season, especially at Oregon, so a little bit better talent there. But I really liked what I saw, and reviewing DASHAUN Mallory and what he could be. I think the potential's there, and I also think this drive that he's wanted to be the hometown kid. He's like out of high school, he was so thrilled to just be like the guy at his high school, and to be able to go to Michigan State, which was only at the time, when he was going there, it was only like 3 hours away from where he was living. So he still felt like he was fairly local, and he was very thankful and very grateful that he got to be a part of an organization close to home, and it's clear that is important to him. So I really like that factor of it, and I think with him being this kind of tweener build, I think if you just wanted to slot him in as like, okay, we got rid of Justin Jones, we're going to lose out on that, we're going to hope Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens take a step forward, Andrew Billings is going to be the run stopper that he is, and DASHAUN Mallory is just kind of this, because we have another roster spot now, I hope they keep him for that reason. So pros and cons, he's versatile. He showed that he's a good run stopper. We look at the TFLs. He had 10. 2 sacks in his last year is not great, but 4 pass deflections. I love, and I know Flus loves, when you can get your arm up, swat the ball down, because a defensive lineman pass deflection is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than a defensive back pass deflection. A lot of those defensive line pass deflections can turn into interceptions. And actually with Tremaine Edmonds, I remember specifically him last year getting an interception off of a defensive line pass deflection. So I know Flus values that. And then the big improvement. So like I said, if you look at his stats, those are 4 years worth of stats. But pretty much every number is half or more of what he was doing other than the games. So games, double that's to 24. 48 times 2, you got 96. 8. So like everything there is pretty much, it was all his last season was most of his stats. And honestly, if you look at his stats, it really would have made sense for a team to take him in the 6th or the 7th round. With the production that he showed at that time, I think that would have been worthy. Now, the little college tape is because he only played in 31 games. We just talked about John Jackson III who actually played in 41 games. Now, he was wide receiver who wasn't able to get many targets, so he only got 41 targets, and that's why he had the Cons little college tape tag as well, because there's just not a lot of tape to review on him. So yes, this last year looked really good. If you compare that to the previous 3 years, it's a massive improvement. Now he's playing for a team that he grew up loving in the Chicago Bears, and he's always wanted to be this like hometown hero, and he could potentially get an opportunity to do that. And so here we are. Now, I put bit of a tweener in the con category. I think it's actually a positive for me, but I think it could be a negative for him getting a roster spot, because it seems like almost a guarantee that Zach Pickens and Gervon Dexter are going to get a roster spot. And then if you assume that Andrew Billings obviously is going to have a roster spot. If you assume that Keith Randolph is going to get the benefit of the doubt there, which it's difficult for me because I think Keith Randolph has the potential to fit into the existing defense and the defensive line more than DASHAUN Mallory. But I think DASHAUN Mallory has the higher ceiling of the two. And I think there's a lot of potential there. Now they're both out of Illinois, so they're both these local guys that want to play for the team. So I like the competition there. But I also put needs to get faster because, like I said, from the research that I did, I saw a 40 time of 4.96 and a shuttle time of 4.56, out of which it said it was for DASHAUN Mallory. And I don't know if it was like a high school number or this was a pre him gaining a bunch of weight. But I saw numbers that basically show that he can be faster than he is. And with that being said, he's going to need to improve that. And if he's going to run that little bit slimmer frame for an interior defensive lineman, he's going to need to get faster because that gives him the versatility to come off around the edge and be a depth guy there and play on the interior depending on the package. And I think if you can get one of those tweeners to really work out, you've got a very valuable person because you can use them in multiple packages. Okay, we got an edge rusher getting really tired. Throw Mallory in there. Oh, well, we need to run a slimmer package for third and long or whatever. Okay, put in Mallory and we'll put him in at interior. Like, I just think the versatility there is very valuable. So I hope DASHAUN Mallory gets a spot on the team. Like I said, my comp to him, which is not somebody that's played in the NFL at all, but somebody that I really liked out of college, Brandon Dorlus, out of Oregon. I think DASHAUN Mallory is just a budget Brandon Dorlus, and I think he very well could earn a roster spot, but it is going to be difficult with having 4 defensive linemen that I think will fit, or 4 interior defensive linemen that I think fit the mold very well. You have 2 that can be the pass rush and run stop 3 technique, and then you've got the 2 that are merely like pretty much purely run stoppers and just fill gaps better and maybe could get to the quarterback every once in a while. You've already got those, so then you kind of have to fill them in for edge rusher. Well, they just took Austin Booker, who I don't think they're going to get rid of. They have Montez Sweat. They have DeMarcus Walker, who I think will start the year, and I think Austin Booker will probably just fill in. So Mallory's really going to have to try to fill in that kind of Justin Jones tweener role that they had. So let me know if you think DASHAUN Mallory is going to make the team. I'm excited for him, and I hope he does. I love having these hometown Chicago guys coming in, making a difference. So let me know that down below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and bear down.